Gimp. Now, Gimp is a free image manipulation program. It's a free alternative to Photoshop. It's absolutely 100% free. You can download it right off the web if you just Google Gimp, G-I-M-P. It should be the very first thing that pops up. Download it. It doesn't have all the in-depth functionality that Photoshop has, but I'm finding that it is, just as useful for most basic stuff, such as using this template that I've created specifically for Gimp today. Now, I gotta confess, I am a brand new Gimp user. I've used Photoshop for many years, so I know basically what does what, but literally this morning I downloaded Gimp specifically to make this tutorial, because I was selling these templates, and I was told that Gimp, was pretty much the exact same thing as Photoshop, so it all should work the same. Sold some template sheets, and people started emailing me back going, I can't get this to work in Gimp. What do I do? So I was like, oh no, maybe I've made a mistake here. Let me see, exactly what the problem is. So I downloaded Gimp for the very first time, opened it up, and saw that Gimp does not use the group function the way Photoshop does. So I had to start all over completely from scratch with my Gimp templates. And it really wasn't that hard. It just took a matter of figuring out what would work from Photoshop to Gimp. And basically, it's a very simple template that I've came up with. So let's go ahead, and you should have a template. If you're watching this before you want to buy, once you buy your template and wherever you unzip it, if it's zipped, or wherever you save it to, that's where you're going to open it from. So I'm going to go to File and Open. I'm going to go to wherever I store my template, Collage Sheets. And in this case, I've just named it Test Template for this tutorial. And it's just basically 15 1-inch circles. This is a 4x6 sheet, and there's 15 circles on there. The first thing I want you to notice is on the right hand side, you should have a layers panel pop up. That's what popped up on mine. Should be the layer panel. It's this very first tab here. Maybe you have one of these other tabs selected if you don't see this. You can just go to click that, or you can go up to Windows and just click the Layers Channels Paths option there. So the very first layer I have made is called Put All Images Above This. Basically all that is the background. The second one is Put All Images Below This. What that is the grid overlay. Basically the circles. If I hide it, you'll see that the circles disappear. So what we have in effect here is a sandwich, so to speak. We have our 1 inch circles, which have they're a little bit bigger than 1 inch, because I got a lot of people telling me before I started making these that I buy these 1 inch templates off Etsy, and I go and I use my punch to cut out these 1 inch circles, and I keep getting this white ring, because nobody's perfect. And while you might get, why if you want to take your time and just line it up just exact and punch it, you might get perfectly punched circles every time. But nobody's perfect. Everybody wants to be just a little bit faster, not have to be so meticulous and everything. So all of my templates, if my auction, or excuse me, not auction, if my listing says I have 1 inch circles, basically those circles are actually like 1.05 inches big. So there's a little bit of space there, a little bit of extra room for your image, so that when you do punch, you're not going to get this white outline around the circle, where if you've punched it just a little bit too large, or if you've been moved a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right. So all of the circles or squares or whatever shape it may be that you purchase from me are just a little bit bigger than the purchase size, and that's just simply so that you don't get that ring, and you make sure that all you get is image. So what we're going to do is we're going to put all of our images that we want in the circles in between these two layers. It's kind of like a sandwich. This is our bun. The template is our bun. We got the bottom layer, we got the top layer. We're going to put all the good stuff inside. So the first thing we're going to do is we need to open up the image we want to use. So I'm going to go to File and Open. I'm going to go to and just open up a simple, quick little image. Just going to open it of this bird, and you'll see it popped up right here on my screen. Now what I need to do is I need to move this image over to my template, and the easiest way I've found to do it is just the very basic way of selecting and copying and pasting. So I'm just going to go up to Select and choose All. Now you can use the shortcuts if you're using a PC of just Control A to select all, and then I'm going to go to Edit, and I'm going to choose Copy or Control C. Now I'm completely done with the bird layer for right now. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to minimize it, and we're back to our template. So I have that copied onto the clipboard. It's just sitting there waiting for me to paste it. So the first thing I need to do to my template is I need to select Put All Images above this, the very bottom layer. And then I'm just going to come down here to the left, the bottom left of this panel, and there's like a little white sheet of paper with a folded edge. This is Create a New Layer. So we want to make a new layer. Click that, and it always comes up with you can change the size if you wanted to, but all we need to do is just press OK. The only thing I want to make sure is that you just make sure this is transparency, and then click OK, and nothing's going to look like it happened. It just put a new clear layer, so to speak, a transparent layer between our top and our bottom. And we're going to now right click anywhere on our template and go to Edit and Paste. Now if you look over on the right hand side, you'll see it says Floating Selection Pasted Layer. Now like I said before, I am new to Gimp. The only way that I have found to flatten it is by anchoring, and I'm going to show you that after we resize. So the very first thing we need to do is we need to resize this image. Obviously, if I try to fit my bird in that middle circle there, it's not working. It's just not working. No one is going to want to buy anything of mine. Not that I'm a crafter like you. That has a half cut off bird. So I need to make that bird smaller to fit in that circle. And in Gimp, the way I found to do this is you can come over on the left hand side in your toolbox, and the very first kind of blue square icon here is called Scale Tool. You can click it, or I just like to hold down Shift and press T. Now you have a scale box that pops up, and you can type in the dimensions you want. You can play around with this. The easiest and quickest way is to just grab these little handles here, and these little handles are these little squares around our image now, and you can just slide them in, or slide them out, or slide them up, slide them down. You can just slide them however you want to kind of fit the image. So what I'm going to do is a little tip for Gimp is if you hold down Control and then left click one of these handles and drag in, it will keep the proportion of the image. You won't lose, you won't get a squished image or a big long dragged out image. It'll stay true to its original size, and just adjust the length and height, as you can see in the scale box as I move it. It's keeping everything proportional. So I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller, and let go. And you can see that it's still going to keep both those. It's kind of showing you a before and after. Before it was this big, after it's this big. Now we need to apply the changes. And in Gimp, the way to do that is to press Scale in the scale box. Bam. Okay, our image is now scaled down. So what we need to do now is we need to get the Move tool. You can get the move tool in your toolbox by clicking on this 4-way directional arrow thing, or very easy, just press M for move tool. And we want to make sure that we're sliding up and down here. And like I said, you can hold control, but I like to just free move it around. Free moving it around. It needs to be a little bit smaller to me. I want it to be just a little bit smaller, so I'm going to hold down Shift and press T again. And I'm going to hold down Control and drag in a little bit more. And then I'm going to press Scale. And then I'm going to press M to get my move tool back. And now I can just move around. Give that bird a little breathing room in that circle. Now I'm just using the center circle to start off with to show you exactly, finding your dimensions. Once we have this first, in this case, once we have this first bird circle done, then all we have to do is duplicate it and move it throughout the image. So if I wanted to fill the whole sheet with birds, I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So I have resized the image. It looks good in that center circle, my little test circle there. That's exactly what I want my first circle to be. So now comes the anchoring part. I'm going to come over here to floating selection, highlight it, right click it, and choose anchor layer. Now, as you can see, it went from above this to right in between. We now have it exactly where we want to do. For whatever reason, Gimp wants to do that whole anchor layer thing. I don't know. I'm new to Gimp. I'm sure there's people out there more versed in this than me. But once you anchor it, it moves it down to the right layer, and you can move it around if you'd like. It makes the whole layer just one big picture. So I'm just gonna, just for showing you, and then I'm gonna move it back to where I liked it. Yeah, right there. Okay. Now the next thing we need to do is get rid of everything outside of our center circle. We have this bleed over here into this. We don't want that. I mean, you could just layer on top of layer and just move and move and move. But this is such a simple way. What we're going to do now is we're going to come over here to our toolbox, and we're going to click the ellipse tool, or the circle marquee tool, if that's what you're familiar with calling it. So I'm going to click the ellipse tool, or just hit E. And what we need to do is we need to make a circle that is just a little bit larger than the circle we're filling. So in this case, we have our bird inside this circle, and so this marqueed circle I want to make just slightly larger than my other circle. And you can always move this. If it doesn't line up perfect, you can always move it, and you can always resize it. So I'm just going to make it just like that. As you can see, I'm right down in the middle, so I'm just going to move it up a little bit and over a little bit. Alright, it's a little bit big for me. I'm just going to drag it in a little bit. You got these little handles here. If you see, when I kind of go in the middle, I got 3 handles. 1, 2, 3. Same here. 1, 2, 3. So I'm just going to come over here and grab this handle and drag in. And grab this handle and just drag out, because it's hard for me to tell right there. So I'm going to make it just a little bit larger. And I'm looking at this bend right here. Not necessarily in the image I'm using, I have, it's almost like a blown out highlight in the photo. So it's very white at the bottom. So I'm just going to watch this little bend right in here to find out where I need to be. So it just needs to be a little bit larger. So right about there. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is, once you have it just a little bit larger than your actual circle, is you're going to go up to, you can go up to a select, or you can right click on the image and go to select and choose invert. Now what that does is, we made the circle and it was selecting everything inside the circle. And when we inverted, it selected everything outside of the circle. Now all we need to do is press delete. Bam. We have our circle. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to press M, or grab my move tool from the toolbox, and I'm going to drag it right up to my very first box. Done. That is the very first one. And if, let's just say I want to do this whole row in birds, the only thing I'm going to do is just going to right click on my new layer, which you can double click, and I'm just going to call it bird, or let's just call it circle 1. So I have circle 1, and then I'm just going to right click on it, and I'm going to go to duplicate layer, and then I'm just going to use my move tool, press M, and drag it over. You gotta let go. At least I have to let go on my computer to be able to see it pop up. And there we go. So I got it right there. And I'll just rename it to Circle 2. And to rename, all you gotta do is just double left click on the name. So for this, it's Circle 2. I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna duplicate layer again. And I'm just gonna use my move tool or press M, drag over. Once I release, I'll be able to see it. There we go. And that's as easy as pie. You just do that throughout the whole template, using the images you want. Let's just say, for instance, if I want to add a different picture. Let's just say I wanted to use a different bird below. Let's go up to File and Open. I'll do this quicker just for the sake of time. And I'll go to Pictures and Birds, and I'll choose this guy. Alright, and he must be down here. Oh, no, wrong bird. Let's choose this bird. There we go. Okay, now right click, select all, right click, edit, copy, minimize that, and I'm going to make a new layer. Hit OK. Right click in the middle, hit edit and paste, and it's going to kind of move him around a little bit. Shift and T brings up my scale box. I'm going to hold down Control as I drag in, making him a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to press Scale. And I'm going to press M from a move tool. Drag him around a little bit. Let's make him just a little bit smaller. Not much. Shift T again. Hold down Control, drag in just a little. Hit Scale. Press M for my move tool. Moving it around. That looks perfect. That looks perfect. Now I'm going to right click. I'm going to select my floating selection, which is my pasted layer. Right click on it and anchor layer. And it's now put it down on the new layer. Now I'm going to get my marquee tool or my circle tool, and I'm going to make a circle slightly larger, about right there, and I'm going to use my move tool and just drag it up a little bit. It's not quite big enough. I'm just going to grab this little edge here and drag it down. I wish Photoshop made it this easy to resize a marquee. It would make my life so much easier in Photoshop. Okay, I want it just a little bit bigger up top. Okay, now I have my circle done. I'm going to right click on it, on the image, go to Select, choose Invert or Control I, and press Delete. There's my circle. I'm going to press M for the move tool, drag it over, go up, down. Right there looks great. So I'm just going to call this one row 2 circle 1, and I'm going to duplicate that layer. Oop, not delete, duplicate layer, and I'm going to just drag it over, drag it, there we go. That looks good. Rename that to row 2 circle 2. and then right click on it, duplicate layer, drag it over a little bit more. Oops, there we go. Down just a little bit, there we go. Rename it to row 2 circle 3, and you basically just keep going from there. You can add more images, go all the way out, however you would like. It's very, very, very simple, no problem at all. Now, in order to save this to print it, what you need to do is just select this very top layer, put all images below this, go over to layer and click merge down. Oops, sorry, let's redo that. Control Z, undo that. Click on this very first, put all images below this, go to layer, and we want to, oops, where did it go? Oh, there we go. Go to image and choose merge visible layers or flatten image. I choose flatten images. Excuse me. I chose flatten image because it will remove all the transparency stuff. So I chose flatten image, and then you would just go to File, Save As, and I would just call it, bird sheet or whatever, and click Save, and then you could just print it right out. No problem, because the template is already set up for the correct size. If you purchased a 4x6 or if you purchased an 8.5 by 11, it's already going to be sized to the right size for you to print on. So it's very simple. Let's just go back and take a look at that again. I'm going to undo what I just did. All my birds, I've put all my birds where I want them. Now I want to save to print, or save to be able to put on Etsy to sell, whatever you're using the template for. I'm going to click on the very first one. Excuse me, I'm going to click on the very top layer, put all images below this, click image, flatten image, and it makes all your circles. Takes away the template, takes away all the layers, takes away everything. So now you just go to File, Save As, name it whatever you want, hit Save, and you're done. You can print right out, no problem. Like I said, this is my tutorial for Gimp. I am very new to Gimp. I don't know, you might be better versed in Gimp. You might know, hey, I know how to do this a little bit easier for you. I know an easier way to anchor that image, or I know why they do this. If you do, contact me and let me know. If you see something I'm doing in this tutorial that you're like, oh, you know what, you can make this so much easier on yourself if you do this, let me know. I'm a humble person. I don't claim to know everything. I'm good at making templates in Photoshop, and hopefully this will ease your pain when it comes to making bottle caps or tags or whatever you're using the template for. So once again, my name's Jeremy. I am the Geeky Artist on Etsy, and thank you again for your